Welcome to Philosophy Zone, where we dive headfirst into the big ideas that shape our world, our minds, and maybe even our souls. Today, we're tackling a juicy one: Karl Marx versus Thomas Aquinas on social justice. Two intellectual heavyweights centuries apart, slugging it out over what a just society looks like. So, settle in and let's get stuck into the fray. Picture this: a 13th century Dominican friar, tonsured head, quill in hand, scribbling away in a chilly monastery. That's Thomas Aquinas, the medieval rock star of theology and philosophy. Now, fast forward to the 19th century, Karl Marx, bearded, fiery, chain-smoking in a grubby London flat, hammering out manifestos that would shake the world. These two couldn't be more different. One's a man of God, the other a prophet of revolution. But both cared deeply about justice, about how we live together, about what's fair. So, what happens when we put them in the ring? Let's find out. First, let's start with Aquinas. To him, the world is God's canvas, and justice is part of the divine masterpiece. He's writing in a time when the church is the glue holding society together. Kings, peasants, merchants, all slotted into a cosmic hierarchy. For Aquinas, social justice isn't just about fairness, it's about aligning human society with God's plan. He says justice is a virtue, a habit of the soul that makes us give everyone their due. Sounds simple, right? But here's the catch: due doesn't mean equal. Aquinas lives in a world where inequality is baked in. Nobles get more, serfs get less, and that's not injustice. That's just the natural order, reflecting God's design. Now, don't roll your eyes just yet. Aquinas isn't some heartless aristocrat. He's got a heart for the poor. He insists that if someone's starving and you've got extra bread, you're morally obligated to share. Not out of charity, though that's nice, but out of justice. Why? Because the goods of the earth, in Aquinas' view, are ultimately God's, and they're meant for everyone's survival. He calls this the universal destination of goods. If you're hoarding while others suffer, you're not just greedy, you're unjust. It's a radical idea for a guy writing in the 1200s, when feudal lords weren't exactly known for sharing. But here's where Aquinas might make you squirm. He's cool with hierarchy. Kings, bishops, peasants, they all have their place, and justice means respecting that order. If a serf demands the same rights as a lord, that's not justice, that's chaos. For Aquinas, a just society is like a well-tuned orchestra. Everyone plays their part, and the music flows. Disrupt the harmony, and you've got discord, not fairness. Now, let's jump to Karl Marx. If Aquinas is the orchestra conductor, Marx is the guy storming the stage, smashing the violins and shouting, "The whole system's rigged." Marx sees the world through a very different lens. Forget divine order. For him, history is a battleground of class struggle, rich versus poor, oppressors versus oppressed. Social justice? It's not about tweaking the system or sharing your bread. It's about burning the whole bakery down and building a new one. Marx is writing in the 1800s, when the Industrial Revolution is in full swing. Factories are churning, workers are slaving away for pennies, and a few fat cat capitalists are raking in the profits. Marx looks at this and says, this isn't justice, this is theft. His big idea, the system itself, capitalism, is the problem. Workers create all the wealth, but the bosses pocket it. To Marx, that's not just unfair, it's exploitation, plain and simple. Social justice means flipping the script. The workers should own the means of production, factories, tools, land. No more bosses, no more lords, no more hierarchies. Here's where Marx gets spicy. Unlike Aquinas, he doesn't believe in a divine blueprint. He's an atheist, and he thinks religion often props up the status quo, keeping workers docile while the rich get richer. For Marx, justice isn't about giving people their due within a system. It's about dismantling the system entirely. A just society is classless, stateless, where everyone shares the wealth they create together. Sounds utopian, right? But Marx isn't just dreaming, he's calling for revolution. No polite reforms, no charity handouts, full-on, tear-it-down change. So let's put these two side by side. Aquinas and Marx both care about the poor, but their diagnoses and prescriptions couldn't be more different. Aquinas says, work within the system. Share, be virtuous, trust in God's order. Marx says, the system's the problem. Smash it, seize the wealth, build something new. Aquinas sees justice as harmony. Marx sees it as conflict. Aquinas trusts divine providence. Marx trusts human struggle. Now you might be thinking, isn't Aquinas a bit naive? His world of divine hierarchies feels like a fairy tale next to Marx's gritty realism. But hold on, Marx's vision has its own blind spots. His classless utopia sounds great, but when it was tried, it often led to new kinds of oppression. Think Soviet gulags or Mao's purges. Aquinas, for all his medieval baggage, has a point. Maybe humans do need some kind of order, some shared moral compass to keep things from spiraling into chaos. Let's zoom in on a practical question. How do they handle inequality? Aquinas says inequality is natural, even God-ordained, but it comes with responsibilities. The rich have to share or they're sinning. Marx, though, says inequality isn't natural. It's man-made, a product of who controls the wealth. Fix that, and you fix injustice. Aquinas wants reform within limits. Marx wants revolution without compromise. Here's a thought experiment. Imagine Aquinas and Marx sitting down for a pint. Aquinas might say, Carl, your revolution throws out the baby with the bathwater. Without a moral foundation, your new world will just breed new tyrants. Marx might fire back, Thomas, your moral foundation is just a fancy excuse for keeping the powerful on top. Justice isn't charity, it's power to the people. They'd probably end up arguing all night, but it'd be one heck of a conversation. So, where does this leave us? Social justice is a slippery beast. Aquinas gives us a vision rooted in eternal truths, duties, and a sense of cosmic order. It's comforting, but it can feel rigid, too cozy with inequality. Marx gives us a vision of radical equality, of human potential unleashed, but it risks tipping into chaos or tyranny. Both make you think, what's justice really about? Fixing the system or blowing it up? Sharing what we have or rethinking who owns what? As we wrap up, let's bring it home. Today, we're still wrestling with these questions. Billionaires soar into space while workers strike for better wages. Charity abounds, but so do food banks. Maybe Aquinas would tell us to lean on virtue, to share more generously. Maybe Marx would tell us to question who controls the wealth in the first place. Both challenge us to look at the world and ask, is this fair? And if it's not, what are we going to do about it? That's all for this episode of Philosophy Zone. Next time, we'll dive into another big idea. So stick around, keep thinking, and let's keep the conversation going. Until then, stay curious.